In today's live stream video, we're going to discuss some news and events that are affecting e-commerce sales. And we'll also talk about some other reselling topics. When I have a live stream, I usually interview another reseller and I have them share their tips, tricks, and techniques to help make us more successful and profitable resellers. So if you're in a reseller, then you are in the right place. It is Saturday, folks. I apologize for having my stream on Saturday, but it's just more convenient for Randy, who was my guest. So I would normally say hello to people in chat, but I know it's very quiet today, and plus it's the Labor Day holiday weekend, so I'm sure people are busy doing barbecues and reselling and whatnot. So anyway, my guest today is Randy Fakesy. Those of you that are regulars to the channel know Randy. Randy is a friend of mine and colleague, and has been a reseller, business owner, entrepreneur for many, many years. So let's bring Randy on, and we shall get started. Hello, sir.
Good day.
Good day. Like I said, it's the holiday weekend, so I'm sure people are out doing the reselling and doing what they have to do and preparing for the holiday weekend. So we won't say hello to anybody because we don't know anybody that's in the chat. So folks, if you pop in the chat, just want you to respond and just let us know that you are here. So keep Randy and I a little company. Like I said, Randy is extremely busy, so I just want to thank Randy for joining us. As I said in previous videos, live stream videos, I'm always looking for other resellers to join me. I'm going to try to reach out to some of the other resellers that I have on in the past. I have started doing that. So if you're a reseller and you're interested in coming on, be beneficial to share some of your tips and tricks and help other resellers. That would be greatly appreciated. So I'm going to get started with, I just have a few articles I want to talk about. Things are, as I say, are typically kind of slow. We'll actually get into that shortly. But as far as reselling is slow, but news as well is kind of slow as far as reselling. So my first thing I wanted to bring out to your attention is give it a shout out to Glenn Swamppicker. Glenn is normally in the chat, but he's probably at the shop working right now and he's busy. He's the first person I heard this from. And this letter was sent to me by pirate ship. So I'm going to share it with you folks. And then I'll talk about it just so if you're not aware of it, hopefully you can become more aware of it. Okay, actually, I am not going to share because I had it pulled up, but it's not there. Let me see if I can do it. If not, I'll just read the letter. Let's try because I had it pulled up and apparently disappeared. Let me try this. Share screen. Do that. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so I'll make this full screen, a little bit easier to read, folks, and I'll just basically go over this. This is from Pirate Ship, and the letter says, "Ahoy, Adam! UPS Ground Saver is now available on Pirate Ship. This economy service will help you save more treasure when shipping lightweight packages." Again, folks, the key is lightweight packages. UPS Ground Saver offers 2 to 7 day delivery speeds with weekend delivery, $100 of included carrier liability, full door-to-door tracking just like any UPS shipment. Just hand it to a UPS like any other UPS package, drop it off at a UPS drop-box location, or schedule a pickup. UPS Ground Saver also gives you the option to use UPS to ship to PO boxes, U.S. territories, and military addresses all over the world. Note that this service is only available for shipping from the lower 48 states and for shipping to residential addresses only. Again, shipping to residential addresses only. Learn more about UPS Ground Saver here. UPS Ground Saver is now active on your account, and you'll see it whenever one of your shipments qualifies. Again, so that's basically their answer to USPS Ground Advantage. So they're trying to be more competitive and do that as well. So that's something that they're offering. And again, guys, the keywords are smaller packages. They have some rates, and some other shipping services have rates as far as showing comparisons of things. One of the sites I was on compared shipping from Portland, Oregon to various places. So again, the smaller packages are saving. So they're just trying to compete basically with the USPS Ground Advantage. So Randy, I'd asked you. You said you don't use that particular service, but I guess it would help some of our smaller resellers.
Yeah, I have no experience with it because I haven't used it.
Right. But like I said, I mean, typically, we're all trying to save costs, and we've talked about multiple times on this channel how basically USPS raise rates 3 times a year. I just read an article about FedEx raising their rates early next year. Well, that's typical. And what they say was, oh well, it's 1% less than before. Well, when the rates went up more, that was basically during the tail end of the pandemic. So I think they took like a 6 or 7% increase. So next year they're only going to take a 6% as opposed to 7%. They
Yeah,
also going to do their typical, which you would know better than I. They're going to do
I think they're actually going to increase the time on when they raise their holiday rates.
that was one of the things I was going to bring up. They're going to pulse the rates up as well. That was something I was going to add to that. That was something else that came up in the article, that they do increase their holiday rates. They have like a surcharge during the holiday. So what, they're going to have like a bigger time frame when they do that?
I think so. At least that's my opinion. Uh, if you use UPS or FedEx, I would encourage you to check your bill on a regular basis. They both have a tendency to all of a sudden make mistakes. I overpaid them one period of time for I overpaid them $19,000. And I finally caught it and I got my money back, but nonetheless, 19,000 I'd rather have in my pocket than theirs.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're not the only one. I mean, like, we talk about, that's another thing I'm going to bring up later in the chat. But there's been some issues with eBay and with glitches and things, and you know, it's just not one person it's happening to; it's happening to multiple people. Okay, guys. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I did share that in my Facebook group. I'm not posting a lot in the Facebook group. There's unfortunately, guys know about my health issues, but anyway, I'm trying to share some things that come across my purview, so to speak. When I saw that from Glenn posted that, I'm a friend with Glenn on Facebook. He posted that, and then I thought that was very interesting. And then when I hadn't seen it prior, and then when I did go into Pirate Ship, I did see that it was offered on some of my items. I can use that service as well. So keep that in mind. And I always say, do your due diligence. So I typically, I mean, I'm not doing the huge volume that Randy's doing. So I usually I ship through Pirate Ship because I had mentioned before that you can tie a royalty credit card or rewards credit card to it, or a cashback credit card to it, which is what I do, a cashback credit card. So that is an advantage. Sometimes eBay is cheaper. Sometimes Pirate Ship is cheaper. Typically, to me, they're about the same. Hey, Glenn, I just shouted you out. So if you just got here, watch the replay at the beginning of the show. I was talking about your UPS Ground Saver service. So Randy and I were just talking about that briefly, and Randy does not use that because it's not part of his program that he uses, but it is available. So I went over the letter that Pirate Ship sent. So anyway, I appreciate you hopping in and saying hello. Okay, let's get to the second article. All right, let's see what we're doing next here. Oh, I wanted to bring this up, folks. This is something that I'm going to kind of tie it into myself personally at the end here, but Amazon tests higher shipping threshold for non-prime customers. People began reporting last month that Amazon had raised their threshold to receive free shipping from orders over $25 to $35, but not everyone was seeing the change. Amazon responded to the inquiry as follows. We continue to evaluate our offerings and make adjustments based on those assessments. We're currently testing a $35 minimum for non-prime customers to qualify for free shipping. Prime members continue to enjoy free delivery on over 300 million items, with tens of millions of items available for free same or one-day delivery. Interestingly, Amazon is testing the free shipping threshold randomly by zip code grouped region. Everyone in the same region will see the same free shipping threshold. Note that Amazon said it would continue to offer non-prime customers and participating metros same-day delivery for $9.99, and that non-prime customers can also pay for delivery on orders less than $35. And this is where I kind of tied into to myself, folks. As a side, I'm curious if Amazon did this in response to what Walmart is doing. I recently tried to purchase several things from Walmart, and to my dismay, when I checked the prices on Walmart's app, the prices were higher in the store for those items that were also available both in store and online. I tried getting a price adjustment in the store, and they refused. Then I went and ordered it online so I could get the price I had, but I had to spend $35. If I didn't, I'd be charged an additional $6. Needless to say, I wasn't a happy camper. Granted, I'm not a member of Walmart's membership program, which is similar to Amazon Prime. In addition, folks, if you don't spend $35 at Walmart, if you want to have them, pull your order for you, there's additional $6 fee. So, said I wasn't real crazy about that. But then I also realized that I could have the item shipped to my home as long as I spent at least $35, which is the amount that Amazon is now testing in various markets. So Randy and I were discussing that because Randy obviously sells a lot of his items on Walmart. I guess it's just a function of the things to come, right, Randy?
Yeah, I think they're all going to continually increase, which may end up hurting online sales because everything has gone up substantially, and people really don't have a whole lot of extra cash.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah, and I read a couple articles about it. Even Jeff Bezos is one of these days is Amazon business going to crash. Well, I don't know how true that is, but we're going to tease that a little bit. We're going to get a little bit later. Topic we're going to talk about Amazon and eBay and Ford Motor Company. So so hang around if you want to hear Randy's story about that. So okay, folks. Michelle is in the chat. Thank you for joining us on the holiday weekend, Michelle. I appreciate you popping in and being here for us. Like I said, I know it's the holiday weekend, so we're going to have a little lower turnout than normal, but I hope people are watching the replay and we'll get some value out of this. This is something else, the guys, that came up, and I tell you, I kind of follow and peruse the various e-commerce newsletters, and I try to, Facebook can be a trap, so I don't try not to get into the Facebook groups that often, but occasionally I'll be scrolling something on my Facebook page, and I'll see an article or somebody mentioned something related to reselling, and I'll look into it. So this is one of the things that came up that was interesting in one of the e-commerce newsletters. eBay buyer experience team shares details on new response time feature. eBay is displaying how long it takes the seller to respond to customer inquiries on their listing pages. And as was reported last week, it took a reader by surprise and appeared to be a test eBay was running. This week, a product manager from eBay's buyer experience team responded to the questions in a thread on eBay discussion boards, explaining it was testing unannounced feature because we heard from buyers that that value knowing if they could expect timely responses from a seller, that it would encourage them to engage more on eBay. eBay is testing a new feature with a subset of buyers to help us understand if it helps with increasing sales for our sellers and trust on the platform. eBay calculates the signal based on data over the last 12 months. The eBay product manager denied eBay had any plans to add a response time as a criterion to qualify as a top-rated seller. Interestingly, rival marketplace Etsy requires sellers to respond to messages within 24 hours to become a star seller. According to the post, buyers in the test could see one of 7 signals displayed in sellers' listings, depending on eBay's calculation. They are response in 1 hour, response within 3 hours, response within 6 hours, response within 12 hours, response within 24 hours, response within 48 hours. No signal will show up on your listings. The eBay product manager said occasional fluctuations in response time will not considerably impact the seller's overall performance evaluation. Guys, while thinking about it, please do me a favor and click on that like button and consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. Randy, one of the topics I want to bring up is, like I mentioned earlier, on the various reselling channels and chats, a lot of folks are talking about how slow sales are on eBay. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't think they're any slower on eBay than any other channel. I heard how awfully terrible selling a Macari is, and I basically agreed with it, and my daughter made a fool out of me because she opened up a Macari account and in 2 days sold 10 items. Now, I think for a brand new seller, 2 days, 10 items on Macari is a pretty substantial amount. So I never would have thought that would happen. Actually, when she told me, I didn't laugh in front of her face, but
Well, you were
I
you were very surprised, yeah.
I really didn't think that that would happen, and it actually did. So it's just a matter of selling the right stuff for the right price.
And
So
also, the typically certain things sell better on the various platforms as well.
yeah, I want to go back to your previous comment
Sure.
on answering as far as in a certain time.
Mhm.
And I think, the average person expects an answer. And I know that when I ask a question, I, I obviously want an answer as well. But I don't think that, there are a couple of issues with eBay. One is that their system continually says, well, it's not you, it's our fault. Uh,
Basically,
but
an
and
error when you get an error message is what you're referring to.
Yeah, and you know what? You see that, but they never own up to it. Uh, and somebody may leave you a negative comment if they actually bought something from you, not realizing that you've tried to answer them several times. The only problem is you can't because they're having a problem with their system. The other thing is that many buyers think that you're on there 24/7. And as a seller, you don't sleep. You just basically watch for messages on eBay. Uh, I don't. Obviously, that's not true. Walmart has a 48-hour period, and if you don't answer them, and if it's a question of a product they purchased, they'll actually refund the product to your customer.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, automatically. And
Yeah.
as though, I mean, you may think it unfair, but I don't necessarily think it is. The difficulty comes in that they give you a time frame. That time frame doesn't include the fact that, let's say, Monday is a holiday, and they emailed you Friday evening. Well, and you don't work on weekends, and you don't look at your messages on weekends, or maybe you like to enjoy a long weekend too. Uh, that counts against you, and I don't necessarily think that it should. Anyway, back to slow sales. As I said before, everybody has a time when they have slow sales, depending on what you sell. Obviously, if you sell, Christmas items, and you only sell Christmas items, you have a time period when you know you can make hay while the sun shines. But the rest of the year, the sun may shine, but you're not going to make hay. Uh, I am extremely busy at this point, uh, but I have items that people want and they want on a regular basis. So, uh, and I have them on sites that those items do well on. I don't have a lot of items on eBay. I probably have half my items on eBay as opposed to everything. And the only reason for that is not eBay's fault. I don't have the time to list them on eBay. I am extremely busy, and I think the more you pay attention, the more you like your products that you sell, the better you'll do with them, and the more attention you'll pay to them. So,
Yeah, that's. I'm sorry.
anyway, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and you and I have talked offline. And you said you actually mentioned on the show several times. You're not a big fan of cross posting. That you list certain things on certain sites and other things on other sites, and that's one of the things. Like you said, your daughter surprised you with Macquarie, and what surprised me was you told me she's doing very well with baby clothing, which was I was like, baby clothing, Macquarie, but hey, if it works, it works. I mean, I know very little about Macquarie. I've never sold a Macquarie. I do hear that video games sell very well, and Macquarie, but I had no idea that baby clothes would sell well on Macquarie. But um,
I'm shocked. I certainly wouldn't have thought of that. And obviously, I don't sell baby clothes, but and I know there are quite a few things that sell well, and I've heard other people do well on it, and I never really figured that they really do well on it. But hey, experience. If you have the right stuff that people want, and you got the right price, they're
that's
gonna buy
that's
it.
that's the three keys: the right stuff, the right price, and you've talked all the time, and we've had a series, and folks, right now it's all regulars in my chat, but those of you that possibly might be new to the channel, go back and check Randy's 12 set reseller program to success. That's something he mentioned. Then one of the other tips he brings up: make sure you have a good description, make sure you have good keywords, make sure you have excellent pictures. I mean, that all adds to it. If just because you have I mean, I guess it could kind of override things. If you have a highly in demand item that's priced competitively, you could still sell it with poor pictures. But Randy is telling me all the time he's constantly tweaking his pictures. Correct?
Yeah, I continually go over my listings because I find mistakes. I find better ways to do things, and it's just I want to keep my products fresh. And for instance, if you go onto Netflix or go onto YouTube, whatever you go on, you will see changes on the pictures that lead into their program. Almost looks like a different program than one you already watched.
Right.
So it's just a matter of keeping it fresh, keeping your site active. Selling things and making things where people feel comfortable at going back to your site. I don't think people actually look into your store until they've maybe purchased from you 2 or 3 times.
I
Then
agree
they
with that.
start to think, well, I want to see what they have next. And I think that's where you need to get to as a seller. You need to have things, you need to keep it fresh, but you need to figure out a way to get people in there who have been your customers. I kind of overpack things because I want to have that first impression really be a good impression. And I want that experience. Most of my products, and I never promise next day shipment and same day shipment. However, I ship everything next day. I
Sometimes you
don't
ship it
leave.
same day. Yeah.
Yeah, I do ship a lot of things same day.
Yeah.
I mean, if orders come in at 3 o'clock, and depending on what they are, they go out the same day. Even though I have a usually a 3-day shipment promise, and they'll actually most people will get their things within 3 days.
So as far as Walmart's concerned, you see things are delivered within 3 days. Is that their what is their requirement on Walmart for as far as shipping?
Most of their requirement is next day shipping, which is
Next day shipping.
considered as expedited.
Okay.
Uh, and I do expedited shipping on a few items. But most of the items I sell, I do 2 or 3 day, and some are as late as 7 day,
Okay,
depending on where you live.
so that's from point to point. So two, two,
Right.
2 days to 7 days. Okay, I got you.
I
But
mean,
they
for
they
instance,
want they want next day shipping is what they want. But then
I
they want it delivered within three to seven.
I can ship
That-
an item from Allentown to Canada and have it delivered in 2 days.
Viva la Canada.
Uh, most people take a month. So who are you going to buy from?
That's because you use FedEx. Is that correct? You use FedEx for that?
I use FedEx for all my Canada shipments,
Right. Right.
and I use FedEx Express, not FedEx Ground.
Oh, well, okay.
In fact, I rarely use FedEx Ground. I usually use FedEx Express on 90% of my items.
Even your replenishables, you're using FedEx Express?
Yep,
Wow. Okay.
yep. I mean, I get a good rate. Uh,
Well, they say that's different because you're doing such huge volume. You're basically getting typically better rates than what an average seller would get.
yeah, I have a contract rate, and just like what do they call it? Gee, I'm getting a Mitch McConnell moment.
Uh-oh. There you go.
Like with the post office, it's not media mail, it's whatever. Uh, I get a better rate than the average person does, because
Ground
and
advantage?
in in order to get that rate, you have to ship 50,000 packages a year. Well, I
Right.
ship more than that, so I'm able to actually get that rate. I mean, most sites will promise it to you, but it's not the same.
Right. Yeah, it's and again, guys, and I tell you, experiment. Listen to other resellers. I mean, Randy and when we're talking about the summer slowdown, and Randy and I were just talking, pre-show about things, and he said he went to Costco and they have Christmas things up already. Now, let's not push Christmas, but if you do have Christmas things, I'm not saying shout out Bob or Bobby or Robert or whatever he's going by these days from Mike Flipping Goodies channel. But get your cash pile or death pile things listed. Do have Christmas things, get them listed, but don't have them take priority over things that you have that can sell now. If you have Halloween things, you're missing the boat. You got to get them out. I mean, because all the Halloween stores are all opening now.
Yeah,
I just
I
telling
started selling Halloween items and fall items 2 weeks ago,
Yep, yep. I was
and
telling
and
Randy that
it's,
Sam's Club has Halloween stuff out, and he told me that it was I'm sorry, was it BJ's? Not BJ's. Oh, Costco. Costco has their Christmas things out already.
yeah. I mean, I already put Wegmans has been a customer of mine for the last 23 years. And if you're familiar with Wegmans, I think is considered in the industry. Okay, in other words, among their
Let me
peers,
interrupt you for 1 second. Wegmans is a regional supermarket chain. Okay.
right? And among their peers, which are, Safeway, Kroger, all the big guys, Wegmans is really considered the chain to follow. In other words, they set the standard. Uh, and I already have, you know, pumpkin spice coffee that I started to provide them already for 2 weeks.
Well, there are people that drink pumpkin spice year round. I mean, it's hard to get year round, but there are people. Do you produce it year round for your business?
Yeah.
You do. Okay.
But for instance, Starbucks started theirs last week.
Right.
Uh, and most of the larger coffee companies started theirs last week. I wanted to get a little jump on them. So I started it the week before.
Yeah.
But
That's right.
Nonetheless, yeah, I do sell it year round. Uh, it's no different than making any other coffee.
So I guess since we don't have I mean I have a couple more things I want to talk about, but this is the I guess that I like to always used to say, and when I was doing these like weekly, the meat and potatoes, wanted to talk mainly about the summer slowdown. So your solution basically is to sell replenishables. You're selling things that people need on a regular basis, whether it be daily or weekly or monthly. Um, Things such as food products.
In
Uh,
1972, I was a spice broker, and I had a spice company that I owned, and we were selling tens of thousands of pounds of spices. But as time went on, I said, well, how long does it take to use a pound of garlic? And how long does it take to use a pound of coffee? And I said, well, the average person doesn't use a pound of garlic in a year. The average person drinks a bag or a can or however you buy your coffee every week. So, uh, what do you want to get involved in? And I basically I had to make a choice. Only reason I had to make a choice was the fact that you can't keep spices and coffee and tea in the same facility because the aromas draw into it, and nobody wants garlic flavored coffee unless you live
so the
in Georgia.
coffee will actually absorb the aromas from the spices. Okay.
Yes, and so will tea.
Too also. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That would make sense. Sure.
So I never had a call for garlic tea, never had a call for garlic coffee, and so I chose coffee. So when you choose your saleable items, choose wisely. What do people buy all the time? Well, if you like records and music, maybe you buy a lot of music all the time. When I back in I would say 1970s, audio stores were the big thing, and you could go in and buy, and spend tens of thousands of dollars on audio equipment. I don't think it's as big now, certainly. I don't see very many audio stores, but
No.
and then things changed, and then we went to video stores, and we had Blockbuster, and
Blockbuster. Sure. Sure.
Blockbuster went busted
I think
because
there's one store left. Yeah, in the
no,
country.
that
Yeah.
one's gone too.
Oh, that finally went. Okay. That
Yeah,
must have gone this year because
yeah,
as of
almost,
early this year was
almost,
still in business. Yeah.
almost a year ago. Uh,
Okay.
but so now we have streaming. So realize that things change, and sometimes you have to change, and if you don't change, you'll go by the wayside.
One of my favorite quotes that it's funny. I didn't learn a lot in college, but I have that piece of paper. One of the sayings one of my professors says, "The only thing that is permanent is change," and that's stuck, and he's absolutely right.
A couple of weeks ago, I told a story, and a friend of mine who had children, and they said, do you want to go to the secret special playground or you want to go to the one just up the street? There was nothing secret, there was nothing special about it, but they always wanted to go to the secret special playground. You know, make your store and what you sell that secret special place, and you won't regret it. You'll continually have sales. Sometimes it's just a matter of embellishing something to make it worth a little bit more. Maybe it's only the packaging that's going to make it a little bit more. I mean, when you get your iPhone, it comes in that nice little package that you love to unwrap, and you paid fourteen hundred
I was going to say
dollars.
for $1,400, it better come in a nice package.
So, don't just kind of wrinkle it up and throw it in an envelope and think it's going to get somebody excited. The quicker you get it to them, it's going to get them excited as well.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So again, guys, Randy's an example. I typically shout out other channels that are supportive of me and other resellers that supported me, and Beth Reseller Rowboat. That's one of the reasons this topic came up. Beth was complaining and bemoaning how terrible sales were recently on eBay. And again, Beth is a clothing reseller. She's, I don't misrepresent, but she's virtually 100% clothing. Um, Virtually probably 99% women's plus size clothing. She did mention in her latest video that she's picking up some men's plus size clothing. I guess technically they're not really called plus size, I guess, in men's, but anyway, like she's picking up like 6X and 7X shirts, and she says they fly out of her store. But uh, when I was learning to, when Mike was doing some shows and he talked about things, and obviously he's not going to give you the golden goose of what he's selling on Walmart, and he's doing so well, and he's doing retail arbitrage on a lot of these things, and he's also had a connection with wholesalers where he's selling replenishables or replens. And this is an aside, guys. I made a video a couple weeks ago, if you haven't seen it already, talking about the various reselling terms. And I mentioned in the intro to the video, I don't know everything. I don't think everybody does. So it's kind of a useful video. It's only like 10, 13, 14 minutes. So it's worth watching. But Mike was saying, think about when you're trying to think about how to generate sales in your store, think about things that you use on a regular basis. Randy mentioned, coffee. People that drink a lot of coffee typically, go through a bag or a can of coffee a week. I'm not telling you to ship, toilet tissue or toilet paper, but maybe toothpaste. I'm not saying, I'm spitballing here, but toothpaste people use on a regular basis. I know, this is not a high turnover, but people that have ice makers in their refrigerators or freezers, they have filters. They need to replace those filters. That's one of the things that Mike actually put out there in the video, that he sells filters for ice makers. So think of things or foods or items that you use on a regular or semi-regular basis. And then again, if you're more passionate, maybe you're really into foods and and pick up food items that are. But again, keep in mind, guys, you want to make sure they sell quickly. Don't overcommit to things, and consider shipping as well. That's a big issue. I'm not saying like shipping toilet paper, toilet tissues. Talking about Amazon and the shipping threshold going up. I bought 4 big huge jugs of Tide laundry detergent. Well, it was $2 a unit cheaper than at my supermarket. Well, they shipped it in this big huge box. I literally could barely pick up this box. So I mean, I don't know if it was like 20 or 30 pounds, but it was heavy. It was bulky. So I mean, that's very expensive to ship.
Speaking of that, Adam, do you know why Eskimo women douche in Tide?
We're not going to go there.
Because it's too cold outside.
All right, I got you.
Okay, now I want to give you my Ford Motor Company story.
That's what I was going to go to. Yeah, absolutely.
How it relates to eBay. In the early years of Ford Motor Company, Henry Ford had a lot of money in the bank. I mean, we're talking $60 million. Now, $60 million in 1900 was worth a whole lot more than $60 million today. And what did Henry Ford want to do? Henry Ford wanted to give his employees a substantial raise so they could afford to buy his cars that he was making. And he was sued by the Dodge brothers. Now, the Dodge brothers at that time were his employees. There was no Chrysler at that point. Okay, those are the same Dodge brothers. They took it all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Dodge brothers because Henry Ford had a fiduciary responsibility to his investors and not to his employees as far as making the choice. eBay has a fiduciary responsibility to their investors more than they do you as a reseller, and that is just a matter of law. So even if they wanted to, legally, they cannot do it. So if you think that eBay is being selfish in not giving you what you want, you're absolutely wrong. They're required to do exactly what they're doing, making money for their investors. So next time you want to complain, just remember Henry Ford as you get into your car and you go out and you buy things to resell on eBay. You know what? It doesn't seem all that fair, but the more that you think of it, the more you're going to say, you know what? It is. Because if I gave somebody my money, I'd want to return as well.
Why don't you
And
share
that's
with me? Why don't you share with me, your Yakko story as relates to Ford and Chrysler?
well, yeah. You know, who would you think is the person closest related to the Ford Mustang? Is it Lee Yacco? Is it Edsel Ford? Or is it Jim Smith? Well, if you really know the story of Lee Yacco is actually Lee Iacocca. But the people in Allentown, Pennsylvania could not pronounce Iacocca, so they called him Yacco.
Not to be confused with Yakov Smirnoff. I'm dating myself.
So if you come to Allentown, you will find Yacco's hot dogs because that's owned by an Iacocca family.
I took a family member. Okay.
It's actually owned by his nephew at this point,
Okay.
but it was owned by his brother.
So if you waited to the end, you found out what eBay and Ford Motor Company have in common. Basically, they have to use their funds and their monies to pay off their investors. And I brought this up, not recently, but multiple times on this channel. Several years ago, eBay was basically raided by corporate raiders. They bought a lot of eBay stock, and they got on the board of trustees, and they had eBay sell off a lot of assets, including Ticketmaster, and getting out of PayPal and selling PayPal, and they're there to generate money for their investors and for themselves. So just the way things are.
Yeah, and the next time you get angry with one of the people who are
Customer service reps, or
realize that their responsibility is also to their employer.
I get upset a lot of time with these customer service reps, and I just say, I know it's, and I say, I know it's not your fault, but there's a but. When there's a but coming, you got a problem. I know you don't set policy, but so like you said, you're giving the eBay reps a hard time. It's not their fault, and some of the other reselling channels are talking about eBay, making changes to their IT and tinkering with things and causing problems. And we mentioned earlier in the video, if you weren't here, about there's been issues. Like Randy was saying, it's not your fault. So in other words, like they're having problems with their site. I was trying to update some listings, and I'll leave you with this tip if you can do it. And I guess I'll shout out Beth again. I always shout out Beth Reseller Rowboat. Beth ends listings periodically and then relists those items, and that's one of the things that eBay recommends. Obviously, if you have a lot of listings, you can't do that on a regular basis, depending upon how big your store is, because you get charged, insertion fees. But I have a smaller store as far as listings, and so I can list things, and that's what I did early this morning. I went in and I said, Adam, you got to generate some sales over the holiday weekend. I'm not proud of this, but one of the resellers that is no longer affiliated with my show had recommended this about running a sale and increasing the prices a little bit. So what I did to try to generate additional interest, so I get new eyes on listings, I ended all my listings, and then what I did was I relisted those items. I increased them by 10%. Then I ran a 20% off sale. So basically, I have a 10% off sale, but I have it listed as 20% because my listings. I try to keep basically the minimum I'm willing to accept. So I have them at a very, in my mind, a very low price. So I figure, all right, let me bump them up a little bit, and knock them down basically 10%, and relist these items and the relist. So hopefully I'll get more eyes on them because people are looking for sales over the holiday weekend.
Yeah, I think it's good to yeah, clean out. I think it's good to you know go back over your listings periodically.
Absolutely.
You may find listings that you no longer care about. You no longer remember that you even had them.
Right. Randy, you don't know Roman, but I want to shout out Roman. Anytime picker, Roman's in the chat. We were talking about Bobby, Robert earlier, Roman. We're talking about cash piles and death piles. So Roman says that Bobby says hello.
Bobby, death.
Bobby is Krillin, right? So yeah, so that's something to consider, guys. Just keep in mind, keep your store, like I said, anything that's permanent is change. Try to adapt and adjust, and something isn't selling. I told you guys I'm trying to get more out of clothing. I'm trying to get more into hard goods, and I'm really, really thinking hard. I just don't throw things out there. When I throw things out there, is because that's my belief, and I'm not claiming to be an expert. I don't say I'm the be all and end all, but Randy is an expert, and Randy has talked to me, and like I said, I'm really trying to get involved more in liquidation. I'm going to try to find some things that are replenishables and get them in my store, and try to get some activity and get some sales going. List on a regular basis, like Randy said. Check your listings on a regular basis. Make sure maybe you can adjust them a little bit. And another issue, or I should say, recommendation, is to sell replenishables.
Yes, sometimes it's good to really reach out and try something that's not as comfortable.
Right.
We find out, for instance, that if you grew up in a certain time, you like rock music, and actually, I was watching a flippin' goodies video, and said, well, if I would have gone through all these records, and some of them were worth $100 and $200, those are the ones he would have went by. But yeah, a lot of times we bypass the dollars to pick up the dimes, only because that's what we're comfortable with. I'm not saying you should go and buy things that you have no idea what they are, and go all in on them. I've actually made that mistake. I have a whole basement full of that. But and a lot of times I, said, "Wow, this is really gold. I should be able to sell this," and it didn't sell. And other things I threw in the corner, and they sat there for a year and a half until I finally wanted to clear out a section, and I sold them in a matter of minutes because they were worth a lot more than I had anticipated them being.
Right.
I anticipated them not selling and me throwing them away. And now I wish I could get more of those things because I've passed on plenty of items over time.
Yeah, well, experience is the best teacher. You see videos. I know I personally, I'm sure a lot of other people watch a lot of YouTube as opposed to watching, like we were talking earlier about streaming, as opposed to regular TV and different services. People are cutting the cord, so to speak, on cable, and a lot of people are streaming and watching YouTube, and you learn things. You learn from other resellers, what they're selling, what they recommend. There's a lot of good other reselling channels out there, guys. There's plenty of information out there, and Randy, I won't get Randy on his high horse because he's brought this up multiple times on his channel, but uh, we don't have Patreon groups, and we don't have this, that, and the other. I am going to make a little commercial at the end, just for the 30 seconds, ask you guys for help if you can. But we're not selling all these courses. I'm on these various email lists, and buy this course, today only 20% off. Hey, look at the course. It's $500. Like, sell electronics, $500. Like, plenty of videos out there about selling electronics. I don't need to pay you $500 for your course. And a money back guarantee.
Yeah, I bought 2 items. I said, make me an offer. I thought I'd be a real snot, and I offered him 35 cents, and he actually took it. And I sold both those items for $150.
What I mean, I mean, I don't want to, give out your golden goose, but what type of item were they?
Good ones.
Good ones. Okay. Randy's lips are sealed.
Yeah, I don't want to give you those in case I see a couple of them.
I hear you. I hear you.
But
Okay, guys, and there's not a lot of people in the chat where they're again. I'm reaching out, Roman. I know I've reached out to you in the past, and I know you've had some health issues as I have as well. But you're always welcome to join me. I'd love to have you on the show as a guest, and you know, uh, impart your knowledge and share it with the other resellers. And like I said at the beginning of the show, Randy is extremely busy. So I'm trying to stretch out Randy's appearances. I'm trying to bring in some other resellers. So I'm going to reach out to some of the people that I know and some of the people that have been on in the past. Some really good resellers out there, guys, and a lot of content. Previous videos. If you're new to my channel, you might want to check out some of these videos. I had Robert on, and that sells the plushes and X and guests, and that's my feature, actually, my feature video on the channel. Robert is great, and I've had the Cha-Ching King. He's blowing up like crazy on YouTube. He's on a lot of various shows. I just saw him on another big, reselling channel, and he went to the conference. I know Mike had somebody in one of his shows, and he's very anti reselling conference. To me, the reselling conference are more about networking. I learn more by networking and learning from other resellers. And when they had them in Vegas, eBay Open in Vegas, it was great because I love going to Vegas, and I got to network with other resellers. And I learned a few things at the conference, but I learned more and made connection with other resellers, including Beth, Reseller Rowboat. I met Beth at the eBay Open conference. And it helps, guys. Other resellers, just talk to them. You should, back then you could have breakfast and various things with them, and dinners and cocktail networking things. But listen to other resellers. There's plenty of free content out there, and there's a lot of good resellers out there. All right, so was there anything else you want to bring up, or we're gonna bring it to a close?
You know what? Speaking of that, I'm going to tell you a little story.
Okay.
I've never been afraid to actually network with my competitors.
You brought that up to me before, yeah.
We've actually, you would be surprised, for instance, how many major companies manufacture items for their competitors. I worked for a rope company back in 1968. We were a union company, and we made rope for a competitor that was also a union company that was out on strike. Now, I don't recommend ever doing that, but
right.
Nonetheless, I know that a lot of companies are not making their items. I can tell you that there's companies out there that will buy products from 3 or 4 different companies that look to seem to be their competitors, but they actually are their vendors.
How about that?
And you can learn a lot by networking with people who sell the same thing that you do. Don't write them off. I know there's not going to be a lot of people who sell the same thing that you do that will network with you. However, there are some out there that because you know what, I mean, I spent 50 years in the coffee business, and there's one problem with the coffee business. Coffee business is horrendously known for fires because coffee is pretty flammable. And when you have a fire, you don't just get up the next day and start working. Okay, you're down sometimes for a month or two, and you need somebody who does the same thing that you do. I have friends that I have helped out over the years. I taught them how to roast coffee. I taught them how to sell coffee. I have several of those friends that are doing very well. One is actually a member of the Fortune 500, and he basically says all of his success is due to the advice that I gave him. That doesn't make me great, but I'll tell you one thing it does. When I need something, I know he's going to be there for me. Now, I've retired pretty much from doing most of my coffee, but the guy who roasts my coffee for me was a person that I taught and took 10 years to teach him how to roast coffee. So I know he's going to do things exactly the way I want them done.
Right.
So don't be afraid to reach out to people who do the same thing that you do, because really you can save each other. I have somebody on the West Coast that when I'm out of an item, I can email them and say, can you fill this order for me? And they can fill it. And that's important, as you know, as a reseller.
Absolutely.
And we don't step on each other's toes. You know, I have friends that sell the exact same things that I sell. And man, you know, slightly different items. But you know what? There's a level of trust. If they can tell me and I can tell them what does extremely well, and we don't step on each other's toes. And that's a relationship that's important. That's when you might want to really look at garnering. Anyway, that's my advice.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you joining us today. And folks, if you're getting value from my channel, please consider helping me offset expenses. I have Buy Me Coffee, PayPal, and Cash App. There's also a link to Randy's website, speaking of Randy, where you can buy delicious coffee, spices, and candy. And Randy's kind enough to pay me a commission at no cost to you folks. If you buy something from his store, just put AE when you register on his site. Again, folks, I shall return probably in about 2 weeks, and I'm always looking for other resellers to join me. So if you're interested in joining me, and if you're still in the chat or watching the replay, don't forget to hit that like button and consider subscribing. And I'll see you in about 2 weeks. Thanks all. Have a great day.